Okay, I am Adam Bell. I'm the owner of Sublime Computer Services, where we specialize in helping companies leverage computers as tools for efficiency and profit, not a necessary evil. I graduated from Austin P, and I've been working as an IT professional since 1997. I've worked in enterprise businesses. I've worked with HCA, and I worked for JC Bradford. I've worked with startup companies. Uh, the maybe the largest startup company that I've worked with has been Avondale Partners. We went from 5 computers to over 100 with branch offices throughout the United States. So we went from 5 computers to coast. I've been intentionally building the best premier IT service support company, Sublime Computer Services, since 2008. Our headquarters is here in Nashville, where we currently support 42 companies with 716 computers throughout the United States. Okay, so today we're going to cover things that all businesses need in their IT infrastructure, technologies that your IT department should be thinking about, things that will make your companies run faster, things that might make your job easier, things that your people will want to buy. The most important IT tool for business is the email collaboration suite. So you ask, we've been using email for 20 years. What is the difference between the email that we're currently using and a collaboration suite? The collaboration suite is a full set of tools that allows people to communicate information beyond email alone. The collaboration suite allows people in the field to work with people in the office without having to come all the way back into the office from the field. Do I have a collaboration suite? Well, indicators that you do not have a collaboration suite. And when I list these out, just imagine Jeff Foxworthy doing "You might be a redneck if." So, indicators that you do not have a collaboration suite: your company email ends in att.net, gmail.com, comcast.net, or aol.com. You are sending files via email as your only method of sharing files with your coworker. If you lose your phone, you lose all of your contacts, your calendar, your email, your notes, everything. It's all gone. If you read email on your phone, then you cannot read that same email on your computer, and vice versa. The shared company calendar is on the wall outside of your office. Okay, so the most important IT tool for business, email collaboration suite, we're going to discuss today, specifically Google Apps and Office 365. We'll also mention Microsoft Exchange because it is a right solution once a business reaches a certain size. Okay, email, so what? Collaboration, the many ways in which your company can work together in and out of the office. Google Apps and Office 365 are the most cost-effective choice for the small and medium-sized business. The average cost is $50 per user per year. Office 365 includes the latest version of Microsoft Office that can be installed and used on your local computer. Microsoft Exchange is the most cost-effective choice once you've reached 200 users. Exchange has been doing synchronization of devices for over 15 years, but it has never been as rich or as affordable to small businesses as it is today in the Office 365 solution. Okay, so with the collaboration suite, you can use webmail or you can use Outlook. I personally prefer webmail because I get the same experience everywhere I go. And we actually use Google Apps, and I feel like the tools and labeling and things that I get in the webmail is much better than Outlook. However, I know that Outlook is a hard habit to break. People are married to it, they've been using it forever, and change is a big deal. So it's hard to rip Outlook out of their cold, dead fingers. But, that's the way it goes. But that is why both collaboration suites support Outlook. You can chat with all users. You can have a shared company calendar or share your calendar with others. You can use online files with Office Online, Microsoft Office Online, or Google Docs. Two or more people can work in the same Word or Excel file at the same time. The files are living in the cloud. Okay, so mobile device synchronization with everything. And there's Woody. He's lost his phone in the toilet. If you've ever had, maybe not your phone go in the toilet, but if you've dropped it, lost it, broken it for any reason, you don't want to lose everything that's on it. So with the collaboration suite, it's not necessarily doing a backup of your device, but all of your information is synchronized with the webmail on the server, the Outlook on your computer, your phone. So as a result, you have a backup of the email, calendar, contacts, and notes. This is the same on Android, iPhone, and Windows Mobile. A good tool that's part of the email synchronization, mobile synchronization, is that administrators can remotely wipe and or locate those phones. So if a phone gets stolen, we can report where it is. If it's lost, we can find it. We can say, well, it's at your house, so it's somewhere there. You know, there are better options of being able to have control over these things. Two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is not new, but it's never been easier than it is now. So on your when you go to log into your webmail or open up Outlook for the first time on a new computer, it's going to prompt you for your username and password. Then it's going to ask for an authentication code, and your cell phone is going to get a text message with that authentication code. You punch in that authentication code, and that then makes that computer or that web connection good for 30 days. So it keeps somebody, you know, if your password does get compromised, then without your cell phone, they still can't get into your email. So that's the two-factor authentication, and it's a big deal. I mean, it's very valuable. So chat. The phones have a chat messenger, so you can chat to the people back in the office or the other people within the suite. Okay. The most expensive server to maintain is the email server, and it is so expensive because of maintaining spam filtering, backups, virus protection, SSL certificates, updates, licensing, and user maintenance. The Microsoft Office 365 and Google Apps provide affordable tools for the small and medium businesses. Okay. All right, so our next topic is a performance tip. So we're going to talk about hard drives. Specifically, we're going to talk about solid-state hard drives. The solid-state drive has been around since 1989. They haven't been practical for the end user. Now they are. They're in iPads, iPhones, Chromebooks, and you need to get them into your PC or laptop. Currently, a 256 gig drive costs $85. It's faster than SATA. Its read-write speed is twice as fast as a traditional hard drive. Okay, so if you look at the two hard drives there, the one on the left is the traditional hard drive with platters. So it's got 3 or 4 platters that spins in that disk there, and then that arm goes back and forth reading data off of the platters, just kind of like a record player. Well, you can imagine as it writes data, it's spinning that disk at between 7,200 RPMs. Well, actually, the lowest setting is 5,400 RPMs up to 15,000 RPMs. So that thing is spinning inside there real fast, pulling data, and that arm is going back and forth real fast, reading and writing data. Where the drive on the right, that data is stored in those chips that you see there, and there are no moving parts. So the read-write speed is twice as fast as a traditional hard drive. It's silent because it has no moving parts. It's cooler temperature-wise because it doesn't have any moving parts. It doesn't make you any cooler to have a SSD drive. Maybe to us IT people will definitely think you're cooler because you get it, how fast they are. And it's more reliable because there are no moving parts. These drives can be installed in laptops and or desktops. Okay, our next performance tip is RAM. RAM is a very common term. Everybody typically refers to it as memory. Most regular users call everything memory, but RAM is the actual memory in your computer. It's the short-term memory. So tell your IT department that you need RAM in your computer. They will know what you're talking about. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. It is as I mentioned, it's a short-term memory in your computer. When you reboot, it clears it out. Okay, so 8 gig of RAM can be purchased today for $38. RAM helps your computer open windows and have a lot more windows open to be able to do work. So when you've got those 15 Internet Explorer windows open, you are using RAM to keep all those sessions live and keep those working. And if you got QuickBooks open, and when you try to open more things and it's just not happening, and that's why when you call the help desk and they say, well, can you reboot your computer? And you're like, oh, you guys tell me this every time. I got to reboot my computer. Well, what they're actually doing is there may be some things that actually clear up, but by restarting, it clears all that stuff out of memory, and all those programs get stopped. And when you start it back up the next time, you've got a lot more resources available to you. So having more RAM keeps employees from sitting around waiting on their computer. Windows 7, 8, and 10 should have no less than 8 gig of RAM. That's going to make your users be much happier and work at a greater level of efficiency. Most PCs typically come with 4 gig of RAM. In my opinion, it's just not enough. Okay, so we're going to talk about managed services. Managed services is a term that I am sure that you've heard either from your existing IT provider or just around. Managed services is an automatic method of monitoring your computers. Once a problem has been detected, it can be repaired automatically or manually before it becomes a problem. Managed services moves IT companies and service providers into a proactive service rather than a reactive service. The result is less downtime for the end user. Here are some of the things that we're checking when we're doing the managed services. Critical event checking. We're looking for significant errors that are happening within the operating system and are being written to the event log. Hard drives are failing or running out of disk space. So those hard drives mentioned in the previous slides, they start generating errors. We catch those errors because it's reported, and once the hard drive has started throwing errors, it won't be long before it is failed. But if we see those ahead of time, we don't have to wait for the drive to fail. Hacker checks. When a computer shows that there have been 100 login failures on this computer, there's obviously something going on, either a process or somebody's trying to get into that computer. Backup successes or failures. We can monitor exactly that. Disk defragmentation, make sure those jobs are happening, make sure that the disks aren't overly fragmented. We can do automatic updates of Microsoft, Java, and Adobe products. Managed antivirus, we're making sure that the antivirus is installed on your computer and maintained. Automatic virus cleanup and notification. You guys get a notification, we get a notification. Alerts when there are problems with the antivirus software. The first thing an antivirus software or a virus likes to do is come in and turn off the antivirus software so it can do what it needs to do. We get notification if the antivirus software is turned off. Web filtering. Web filtering is the filtering of the websites that a user can get to. There are a lot of websites out there that are known bad websites. So you don't want to go to those sites, so the web filtering software keeps you from actually getting to them. You also have sites that you don't necessarily want your employees going to during the work week. You don't want them going to adult websites. You don't want them going to social media websites. Those can be done after hours on their own time. Okay. Ransomware. I like this quote. A writer once asked a literary agent what kind of writing pays the most. Her answer was simple: ransom notes. And that is essentially that is what CryptoLocker and CryptoWall Trojans and things like that are doing. They are attacking your computer, encrypting your files, and then demanding money to get the key to unlock those files. Sometimes they give you your money back. I mean, sometimes they give you the key. Sometimes they don't. To me, I wouldn't send anybody money. All right. Well, you may have heard back in, I think it was in January of this year, the Dixon County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee was infected with CryptoWall. They were fortunate. The ransom was only $572, and they were fortunate when they paid that money. The thief actually honored the ransom and gave them the key to decrypt their files. They got really lucky. I have one of my clients um, picked up CryptoLocker this spring. The result was she was trying to download an Excel template, and when she did, the CryptoLocker came down with it. It infected her computer, and then it infected all of the files that she had access to on the server. The result was all of her files were encrypted. All the data files on the server were encrypted, and there was no reversing it. I had no intention of contacting them and trying to pay for the key. We just simply stopped the server, stopped her computer, cleaned it up, restored all of the files from the backup before. And she and the company were back in business in a couple of hours. Okay. So how can you protect yourself from this ransomware CryptoLocker stuff? Limit who has access to what files. So if somebody does get a CryptoLocker virus and they try to encrypt the network, at least limit, if somebody doesn't need access to everything, don't give them access to everything. Antivirus and anti-malware software need to be running on your computers. They need to be updating all the time. They need to be scheduling their scans for after hours, that kind of thing. Need to have web filtering, which is what I mentioned before. And you need to have some kind of disaster recovery plan. Hopefully your disaster recovery plan doesn't look like this. screaming and yelling for help. Now, your disaster recovery plan is backups. The greatest protection against the CryptoLocker and really any virus is having the other three things in place, but it is difficult to block out every single virus that has ever been created throughout the world. We've got to protect our users and their computers from every single virus. It's a very tall order. And the guys and gals who are writing the viruses, they just have to come up with one way to break through. And that's what they're doing. So they're going to get through on the law of averages. So the best thing to have in place is backups. If you got backups, then you can keep going. Okay. Okay. So you've heard the term cloud computing. I'm going to talk about cloud computing infrastructure. It's been around for a little while, but as the technology grows and it's been around, the more affordable it is, and really it's a numbers game. So Amazon, the three players that I'm going to talk about today are Amazon's Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Rackspace. I'm actually not going to talk much about those other ones. My cost example here is actually at Amazon. The other two are our competitors in the field, and they're all comparable. Rackspace is more traditional than Amazon and Microsoft. So here in my cost example, this is a real life example of one of my clients. They are paying $208 a month for their server, and so they've actually got two servers. They've got a domain controller that runs $25 per month. They've got a medium application server that runs $92 per month. That is, that's an application that everybody uses and runs on their computers every day. The bandwidth for their connection to the cloud servers is $20 per month, and the VPN connection is $71 per month. They've got 2 VPN tunnels from their offices to the cloud and to the cloud server. So on average, so $208 a month. So like I said, it's a numbers game. You've got to decide when those numbers make the most sense for you as a company to move into the cloud, because one could argue for $2,400 a year after 3 years you've got a pretty good server, but who's responsible for taking care of that server? You are. Where with the cloud version, the price is going to continue to go down, and all of that responsibility on infrastructure is no longer yours. So let's talk about the benefits. No servers in your office. You don't have a closet making noise. You don't have to worry about electricity or internet for that thing. Cloud backups. Those servers in the cloud can be backed up directly in the cloud. There are no licenses for you to maintain. You can load balance between multiple servers in the cloud. You can do what's called auto scaling if you need it. So if there's a big task that takes a lot of computing power, you can set these servers to scale up to larger computing power. Make their server grow from one server to say 5 servers to do all the processing that needs to be done, and then roll back down to one server. And you're actually billed by the hours of utilization. So it doesn't cost nearly as much as you would think. You're not paying for those 5 servers the whole month long, only your use of them. And then geographic redundancy. So Microsoft has data centers throughout the United States and throughout the world. Same with Amazon. And then I'm actually not sure if Rackspace has multiple data centers, but I think they do. Okay, so cloud computing infrastructure. Things to consider. How fast is your internet? Can you get to this cloud server in a timely manner? Is it reliable? How are your people going to access the server? Do you have people working from home, from the field, from the office? How are they going to get there? And you also may want to have your own backup of the server, just in case you're worried that Amazon's going to fail and they have the only copy of all your data. Sometimes it's a good idea to have a copy of your own data in your office. Okay, so let's go on to recommended antivirus. We actually consider our antivirus program every year. Things change with every company. They get better, they get worse. We try to evaluate, make sure that we are using the best product for our customers. And today we are using and recommending Bitdefender. Okay. It has anti-malware as well as antivirus protection. The difference there is it's not just doing viruses, attacks that are trying to mess with your operating system and the programs, but the malware is trying to get on your computer and get you to do pop-ups and modifying things that don't necessarily mess with your operating system. They don't mess things up, but they're trying to get you to do things that you don't want to do. They want to get your money or steal other things from you. All right. We always recommend web filtering, as I mentioned before. Here are a couple web filtering companies: OpenDNS, Sophos, and K9 for personal use. The K9, they have a home version that you can use for free. The with our when we were talking about managed services, our managed service solution includes all this stuff. Our Bitdefender product, as well as our web filtering. And back it up. So I'm going to sound like a broken record on that. If you back up your data, then you don't want to get a virus, but it doesn't hurt so bad knowing that your data is safe. Okay, since we've been talking about backups, it makes sense to discuss what we're using and recommending for backup. So we consider our backup program every year just like we do antivirus. Currently, we use and recommend StorageCraft Shadow Protect for our PCs and our servers. We back up the entire server That means the files and the Windows operating system, everything. So in the event that server got a virus, we could restore the entire thing as it sat yesterday. We easily keep 1 month of data on site. If we're doing off-site backups, we like to keep 90 days of off-site backups. Windows backup is okay, but we don't recommend it. It is typically doing a backup of yesterday's data, and that's just not good enough. We like to have a longer version and like to have more control and be able to take those things off-site. We recommend a local and an off-site backup. The local backup is for speed of recovery, so that you can get everything recovered quickly. And then the off-site backup is for disaster recovery. If something happened to your office or your server, then you want to be able to get that stuff back. I mean, your company depends on that data. So we've got to have that off-site backup for that disaster recovery. Considerations for the off-site backup. Off-site backups are backing up files or the entire server. We always back up the entire server, and we recommend you backing up the entire server. If you only back up files, then a working server is required before the files can be restored. So meaning, if your server or computer got a virus, you would have to restore the computer to the way it was working before, and then you'd be able to get your files. So if you were backing up the entire set off-site, then you could restore them all at the same point. It's just it's a matter of time. It takes more time to do it the wrong way, what I consider the wrong way. Off-site backups need to be able to be recovered quickly. We can recover our client's entire server in less than an hour. We also maintain a what we call a hot server ready to go for our clients in the event that they do have a failure. We could restore an image of their server from the last night's backup onto that server and bring it into their office. So we can have that server back up in an hour, or well, less than an hour from the time we get the server back up in line. So, but we got to drive it out there. A recovery from Amazon, CrashPlan, Carbonite, that will take days. It's usually going to be the next day. You tell them you have a problem, you need a copy of your data. They are going to put it on a drive and overnight it to you. So it's going to be no less than 24 hours. Okay, now we're going to move into marketing tip. So we're going, the first marketing tip is going to be on email marketing. ConstantContact.com and myemma.com. They are both email marketing vendors. You can use them to send email to your clients or potential clients. Just, whatever it is that you want to convey to them, even if it's the Merry Christmas cards or flyers or whatever. You can send a professional looking email and you can schedule them. So if you're doing 2 or 3 marketing emails, you can schedule them to go throughout the month, so you don't have to try to send those exactly when you want them delivered. You can create distribution lists, and you can upload those distribution lists into those vendors, and then be able to create separate lists for separate email campaigns. The opt-out is easy for you and the recipient. The opt-out is built into the service email, and it's at the bottom of the email. And if users don't want to receive that email, then they can quickly opt out. And also, you have to have that opt-out in there so that you don't get marked as a spammer, because you can send email, but you've got to have a way for that person to be able to say, hey, I don't want your email anymore. Okay. And also, using a third party keeps your servers from being considered spam servers. So if today you're currently emailing from your own account and you're sending out the same email to 300 recipients, the server is detecting that, and then you do that enough times, it's going to mark your server as being spam. And then you're going to have a harder time getting delivered the important emails of collaboration that you've got to get to your clients or your vendors or whoever. And you also get a report of what happened to your email. So you send out an email, and then at the end of the day, you get a notification that says, okay, here's the early results. These people have opened, these people haven't done anything. You can actually check it later, and you'll find out who has opted out, who is no longer in business. They don't have an email address, or they may not be out of business, but they may be no longer working for that company. And so you can remove them from your list and keep your list clean, or you can follow up and say, you can follow up with your clients and say, this person no longer works there, who's the correct recipient, that kind of thing. Okay, our next marketing tip is for printed newsletters and or postcards. There's a couple companies that we recommend, Vistaprint and Print Runner. They will print and ship your marketing material directly, so you can upload a list and they will send those postcards directly to your customers. You can also just have them print the material and send them to you, and then you can send them to your customers. Sometimes you might want to make a big run and have a big run of postcards and have those available for whenever a new customer comes around. The good thing about the print and ship marketing direct is that it is nearly the same price as doing it yourself, and you don't lose the time of having done it. One thing that I would recommend if you're going to do the print and ship marketing, include yourself as one of the recipients. You want to see what your clients are receiving, and you also want to make sure that it's actually being sent. Okay, our next topic is wireless. Today we recommend Ubiquity Unify Access Points. They have done a real good job for us working in a small or large implementation. Never have a wireless network that doesn't require a password. So if you're in your office, you can get on the internet without entering a password. Not that it saved it, but there's no password at all. You need to get your IT folks to make sure that there's a password on that wireless. You don't want to have that liability of that open network that anybody can just hop on. Your IT department should have your wireless set to the latest encryption protocol. Just ask them, say, hey, we're running the latest encryption protocol. Today, the latest happens to be WPA2, which is what we would recommend. Running an office with wireless will be problematic with 5 or more users. So let me explain that. So you've got a wireless access point. You've got in that picture there, it shows 2 antennas, but most of that particular one doesn't really have 2. Anyway, never mind. So your bandwidth for your wireless is split between those 5 users. So you don't have, so the latest protocol, which is AC, not AP, which supports 433 megabits per second, each of those 5 users doesn't get 433 meg. They get 433 meg split 5 times. Well, in that scenario, if everybody was getting that, that's actually not terrible bandwidth speed. But not everybody's running the latest protocol AC. They're probably running something slower, less bandwidth than that. So everybody in wireless, everybody shares the same bandwidth. Sometimes their access point has 2 antennas, like the picture here. Then you have obviously twice the bandwidth, but it's still being shared between everybody. Where if you plug into the network into an Ethernet jack in the wall, you're going to get better performance than you're going to get out of the wireless. Okay, change your wireless password every 6 months, or if an employee leaves, and if they knew the key. It's a good idea to change it every 6 months, because you don't always remember every time somebody had the key that no longer has the key, or well, you forgot that they had the key. So, all right, we often get asked this a lot. When should we buy a server? We recommend having a file server, domain controller server at 10 users. That seems to be about the time that the keeping up with the users and all the passwords becomes too hectic to maintain on a regular basis. You never know if you're going to be able to log into a computer, somebody has changed the password, you don't know what the password is, now you can no longer get into the password, then we've got to hack the thing just to be able to get into it. If they're on a domain, there's a domain account that can always get into those things, even if we can reset the user's passwords, everything. Shared files are all over the place. This gets a server will get all those shared files in one place rather than everywhere. And we can also make sure that not everyone has full access to every file. In the peer-to-peer environment, you're pretty much sharing with everybody, and you hop on the network and you see everything. If the person who has the files on their computer, if they reboot, then everybody else loses access to the files, and they could lose work. Backups? What backups? Who's doing backups in a peer environment? The data's all over the place, so you got to back up everything. So this gets everything in one place where it can be backed up, managed, shared, and keeping track of the users. Okay, so 3D printers. 3D printers are awesome. I would like one, I just don't have a reason to own one. But if I ever come up with a great reason, I would like to buy one myself. They've come down in price significantly. Smaller versions can be purchased from monoprice.com from between $300 and $700. And I've been asked how these things work. So what you can do is you can actually put something in. This is a MakerBot picture right there. You can put something in there, whatever it is, like they have a plastic house there. So if you didn't make that plastic house, you could set that plastic house in there and tell it to scan it, and then you could tell it to turn around and replicate it. And it uses a plastic filament that it heats up and melts and prints it out kind of like a single head printer does, and it just builds it from the ground up, moving back and forth, putting all the pieces there. It's a pretty cool thing. I could see people in the fabricating parts, coming up with maybe even plastic parts that are broken that they need to replace. That would be pretty cool. But like I said, there's a lot of options there for some cool stuff. All right. Computers are supposed to work for us. They're supposed to be tools that make us more efficient. If this is you, then contact your iSupport. We actually do want to make your work better. We're here to help. So give us a call, and that way you don't have to use the hammer on your computer.